Hey folks, it's Angela and Leslie here. We have been talking about a collaboration that we were kind of keeping under wraps until it fully solidified, and we're ready. It's
We're
here.
ready.
What is it, Les? What is it?
So the Besties have collaborated with the New Jersey Medical Association and the New Jersey Black Women Physicians Association, of which I'm a member of both groups, to talk to you about a project called the Year of the Menopause. Why is that important to you and why
Why is
should you
that
care?
important? Why?
You will be really surprised to know that menopause affects everyone, not just people who have or have had ovaries.
Yes.
So during this year-long project, we're going to have the team members on talking about maybe once a month or so about different topics of menopause, what it is, what it isn't, dispelling some myths, answering your
Discussing
questions.
discussing why how the patriarchy shows up in menopause, not only how it's understood but how it's treated and how it's minimized and how it really leads to some major health risks for women because of that. So we're going to get into all of it. It's going to be this highly instructional. You're going to leave knowing things that you've never ever considered before, whether you are whether menopause is in your radar or whether it's, you're in the peri stage or in the
Or
post,
if it's in
wherever
your
you
rearview
are.
mirror.
Exactly. Or if you love someone who will or have experienced menopause, we think that you will really be edified by this. And we feel like we're filling the gap with this type of
Hmm.
information because so many
Hmm.
people don't have it, including doctors. And so we're collaborating with them to help to spread the word. And
Okay.
it's going to be probably once a month that we're going to discuss a
Hmm.
different topic, and get really into the nitty gritty of menopause throughout this year. We hope
So,
that you enjoy this first episode.
and stay tuned.
And okay, bye.
Hey, Ange.
Hey Les, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm
Good,
doing well. I'm excited
good.
today, but I'm always excited.
You're always excited. You're the excited one.
All right, but let me just say this. I'm extra excited because I put on mascara. And when Leslie puts on mascara,
It's about
it's
to go
about to go
down.
down. You know? Because that's a commitment. That means tonight the face washing is going to be extra, but it's a
Oh
special
my goodness.
occasion.
It's
So it's
especially
well worth it.
it is a mascara occasion. Okay.
What can I say? And I curled my hair that you just cut. So I'm ready. I'm ready to go.
Hey folks, welcome to Black Boomer Besties from Brooklyn. I'm Angela, and that is Leslie, my best friend of almost 50 years, if you can believe that. It is true. We are two intellectually curious older Black women. We like to explore ideas, we like to explore assumptions, we like to push against the status quo, and we like to, as often as we can, do it with other amazing Black women. So today, we have a couple of those, and Leslie's going to introduce them. And before we start, you
I
want
have an
to
ask.
you have
So
an ask of the people.
you might know us or you may want to know us, but I'd love for you to click like and subscribe and hit notifications so that you can get alerted to all of our content. We come out about once a week or so, but we think you'll like it. Please hit like and subscribe. So, did you hit like and subscribe already? Okay, so
You're
now
so
I'll tell
annoying.
you. I'm excited. I'm a little giddy, but it's really serious. I brought on two very special people. I want to talk about a collaboration that Black Boomer Besties from Brooklyn is establishing, something that's valuable information and it will actually change the way you think about people, human beings. So let me just start introducing a couple of folks. I have two physicians here. I have Dr. Toni Otway. Dr. Otway is a board certified obstetrician and gynecologist. She currently resides and practices in New Jersey. She got her training in Florida and in New York, and she's worked closely with organizations that provide medical care for the underserved. She is currently a senior medical director for Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey. And throughout her career, she has been collaborating with several organizations to help promote education and wellness for women, especially in communities of color. So the other dynamic lady here has been a friend of mine for quite a number of years. She is a friend, she is a colleague, she's a confidant, and she gives really good advice. And there are times when we're on call together and we're just sitting up dealing with stuff. So Dr. Damali Campbell is a practicing obstetrician and gynecologist for over 2 decades in various northern urban communities in New Jersey. Her work specifically focuses on improving health literacy and outcomes for patients, particularly in under-resourced communities. She believes in order to improve health outcomes, we must understand the needs of the community we serve. Give health information in a way that community members can understand, and use that information and listen again to make sure we got it right. Who wouldn't want a physician that does all that? So I give to you Dr. Toni Otway and Dr. Damali Campbell. I want to tell you all about this exciting collaboration. It's called the Year of Menopause. And you're like, menopause? Why is that something that I might want to hear about? Well, whether or not you have ovaries, you may love someone that has ovaries. You may love someone who used to have active ovaries, but they are no longer active. You might be someone who is in love or partnered with someone who is in menopause, and you're just tired of the room being at 40 degrees every night because they're always burning up next to you. So we think that the idea of menopause, there are so many mysteries about it. There are questions about it. It's a big deal. It affects all of us. And we want to introduce to you the Year of Menopause. So why did this come about and why now? Who wants to start?
I think it has started to come about because it is now being discussed a little bit more. And I'm hoping that it's not just going to be a year. I'm hoping that this is the start of beginning of women really understanding what's going on in their life. You've got to understand menopause is basically almost like 40% of your life that you're actually in this situation. I call it a situation.
Okay.
You're actually in this situation. And I think over the past few months, couple of years, it's being investigated more, and people are realizing that it's more than just what's going on in the ovaries and the hot flashes. It's a lot more. It's been found that we have, because menopause is a loss of estrogen. And we are finding that there are over 400 receptors in our body that have estrogen, all the way from the top of your head to your toes, all the way through your body. You have estrogen receptors. So every single part of your body, every function, everything is affected by this loss of estrogen. And I think it's just coming more to the forefront. And I think more and more women are just demanding to have help. Because like I said, it's like 40% of your life, you are in this phase of menopause. I think that for me is one of the reasons why I think it's becoming more and more to the forefront. They asked me to do a talk at my job. We do these lunchtime discussions, and they said, can we just do menopause? There was over 200 people on that call. I was shocked. Wow. And I kept getting questions, emails, for days.
Yeah.
And I thought, I haven't practiced for about 8 years now. I've been working with the insurance companies, but I haven't really been practicing. And I thought it had started to get better, but it didn't seem like it has gone anywhere.
And when you say it gets better, what are you referring to? What might have gotten better?
I thought that the information was getting out there. I thought that people were because there's a huge problem in the medical schools, because I wasn't really taught it. It's not really something that's taught as a separate subject. It's just kind of by the by. And I did medical school 20-something years ago, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I thought it had gotten better, and it when I was looking into it, it hasn't gotten better at all. So that's my reason for getting into it at this point in my life. So,
and I would just add to what, Toni is saying, that, I think primarily that women are living longer. And, they are, as we are living longer, we are living life fully longer. What that life looks like in 60, 70, 80, in 2020, in the 2020s is different than what it looked like maybe in the 60s and 70s. But what we need to understand about medical training is that, unfortunately, our medical training is primarily hospital-based. And so because medical training is primarily hospital-based, dealing with the symptoms of menopause are something that people don't really deal with too much in the hospital. It's something that is really, people will present with as in an outpatient setting. And so I think that is what leads to this paucity in our training regarding how to deal with menopause. Now, for those of us that are entrenched in, scientific research, there's studies and, all these things that have been done. And, as medical studies go, there were times when estrogen was recommended, and then some of the studies, talked about the risk of taking estrogen. So for some time, people backed off of making those recommendations. We then looked at, and reanalyzed a lot of this medical research and realized that some of those studies that looked at the risk of hormones, we were really looking at hormones that were given to women who had been in menopause for quite a long time, which is typically not how we treat menopause. So maybe those risks were over exaggerated to some degree. And so, there's been a shift back and forth in the knowledge, but there really has not been as much training and research that I would say that we would have liked to have seen in, the last 2 or 3 decades.
So I have to jump in because I'm the listen, I'm the only non-doctor in the building, right? And so I got questions. Do you think that it's because we have a patriarchal system that menopause is not studied and not seen as something other than an annoyance to men?
Right.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Absolutely. I mean, when I was going through school and training, all they wanted to do was the surgery. They wanted to do the cutting. They wanted to do the deliveries. But the bread and butter of seeing a patient and treating a patient in a clinic was not their interest. So it was never a big priority to push that kind of training. I think over the years it's starting to get a little better, but nowhere near where it should be. So yeah, it's absolutely, it's because it's patriarchal,
but that's also what I was saying. I mean, whether or not you have ovaries, I'll put it that way, or identify as female, or have a uterus, or in menopause, we all interact with all types of people. So there has to be some interaction with people who are experiencing perimenopause and menopause. But what I was going to ask you, Damali, is that if, as you said, that has been quite a bit of scientific research done about estrogen replacements and things like that, and I'm hoping that extrapolates to menopause in general. So why then does your organization, and I didn't mention the organizations and I will, why then do you all feel that it's necessary to put together or establish this year of menopause proposal and plan?
Yeah. I mean, I think as Toni, mentioned, I think just because more women are living longer, and menopause is something that affects every aspect of one's life. And so it's not just about hot flashes and difficulty sleeping. I mean, it is it affects memory and cognition. And so women are experiencing, you know, difficulty in the workplace. It affects their mood. And so they're experiencing, you know, difficulties with relationships. Not only, like partner relationships, children relationships, all types of relationships. Um, you know, we and it could take at least a year. We probably could go on longer than a year because, as Toni mentioned, menopause affects every aspect of our body from our head to our toes. So, I think it's apropos, thinking about February and the Heart Health Month, how menopause affects our cardiovascular health, how menopause affects our bones, how menopause affects our sexual desire and our sexual health. So there isn't any part of our body really that is left not affected by menopause. Or whatever you choose to call it, the change, the big M, so there's so many, different names, the change of life. And I think, we've come out of this place, when I talk to some patients, we don't have really good predictors of when women will go through menopause. The best predictor that we have is when your own mother went through menopause. And as I talk to many patients and I ask them, do you know when your mother went through menopause? They're like, no, they didn't talk about stuff like that.
Exactly. So we don't have the stories, or we don't know the histories of when our mothers went through menopause, or friends, or this, because these are kind of things similar to when people are menstruating. It's almost like you don't talk about it. You keep it closeted. And I'm looking forward to just experiencing this and learning more about it, because even as a physician, I have so many questions about it. I hear about hormones and I had no idea that it affects so many things. Maybe that's why people call me the B word sometimes. That's
Bossy.
Babe in total control of herself.
Babe in total. Exactly. So as you're putting this year together, who's your audience? Who are you talking to?
And why?
Yeah. I mean, in addition to the fact that I think women are looking to have this conversation more, one of the things that, we know in general, that I know in general, is that this is not, we talk about the patriarchal society. And so, we have a lot of talk about Viagra and how we're going to, we want to increase, men's ability to have sex. But I have a lot of the women who come in and they're like, well, how do I increase my sexual libido? How do I, deal with the vaginal dryness that I'm experiencing as I become older? And so there's this way where medicine, does the research on the issues that affect men, but not on the issues that affect women. And then, there are disparities not only in treatment availability for women of color, but even involvement in clinical trials. So how do we know?
That's a whole other thing. Yeah.
That some of these treatments work as well in women of color and different populations? How do we know when they are not necessarily represented in the clinical trials? And I realize that not everybody feels that representation is important, but we're actually, if you believe in science, what's happening with science, where we are with science is precision medicine. And so we know that some medicines do work better in some people, in different people. And that's where medicine is headed.
Yeah. I think that for me, I'm talking to any and everybody, because we're all lacking in our understanding of what's going on with this. So anybody that wants to listen, I'm talking to.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a subject that's very rarely talked about, discussed, and just like any other issue in medicine, when it comes to Black women, it hits us the worst, and we are treated the worst. We're educated the least. So for me, it's talking to any and anybody who wants to listen, because I found, over the years that everybody is an audience. Every single person, my family, everybody, friends, workers, everyone. So this is a conversation for every single woman that's out there, because this situation is not just when you stop your periods. I mean, menopause is characterizes when you've gone a whole year without your period, but it can start years before that. That you'll find that your ovaries are starting to lose the estrogen, and things are starting to be affected. Your bones are going to start to be affected. Your brain is going to start, your heart, everything is going to start to be affected before that actual cutoff time of the year without the period. So this is something you shouldn't, it's not something you should be waiting to talk to someone that have actually gone through the menopause. It's a discussion that needs to be done way ahead of time. It's this discussion of weight control. It's this discussion of, for your bones, supplements with calcium and vitamin D and exercising, decreasing your alcohol, quitting smoking. These are all things you need to discuss to get your body prepared for that time when you go through those changes, to lessen the effects and to lessen, the chronic conditions that will come out from losing that estrogen. So for me, it's to talk to everybody and anybody who wants to listen.
What I loved what you said, Toni, just now is that I want younger people who might be even decades away from being perimenopausal or menopausal to start listening to this. One, just to get good, sound information about what is going to happen years later. But not just that, to start preparing yourself now. If you were planning to run a marathon in 6 months from now, when do you start training for that marathon? Well, me, I would start in month 5, but most people should start right away. You start now and you gradually start building up for that. So if people know that the loss of estrogen affects all these parts of your body, well, then there are things that I can start doing a decade before or 2 decades before. Or if I start experiencing memory loss, or if I start, feeling weird in some other way or whatever, you don't start wondering, like, what the heck is wrong with me? You get some answers. I mean, that's what it would do it for me.
I think that's a great point. I mean, I have experienced so many women coming to the office after their Google search of various symptoms, like really worried and really concerned, like not knowing, thinking they might be dying. They might have some chronic medical illness. They might be depressed. They might have chronic fatigue syndrome. And, they're not getting answers maybe from their primary care doctor. Um, you know, and but nobody has connected the dots because they are experiencing fatigue, they're experiencing difficulty sleeping, they are experiencing mood swings, but then nobody's really asking them about what's happening with their menstrual period. And so then it's like, oh yeah, that's like coming and going, and sometimes it's there and sometimes it's not. And so, I'm like, aha.
A clue. That's when you have a good doctor.
you know,
It
happy to
sounds like
tell you
you've had
that,
stories of this, of
yeah,
people just kind
happy
of,
to tell you
yeah.
that you're not dying.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's so interesting that the relief that can be brought to people to know that they're not dying, they don't have some major medical illness, that this is just another stage of their life,
Mhm.
and that there are things that can be done to help them, to
But
manage.
they've probably spoken to several doctors before they got to you, right?
At
And
times, yeah.
so it's like, how do you think that your profession as a whole, that they are um, rising to the need of being educated in this way, so that, because patients won't know, we've been socialized too to think that menopause is this, it's not that, right?
It's only
If it's
hot
not a hot
flashes.
flash, it's not
If you're not
menopause.
getting hot flashes, but
Right.
vaginal dryness, yeah.
So
We definitely need better education on the professional and provider level as well. We
But then I
definitely
also want to go back to what Ange said. In a patriarchal society, you kind of have to care also. You kind of have to take ownership and say, I care about what happens to these people in my world or in my home, in my people that I care about, or my patients.
Right. But I also think in this day and age, with the way healthcare is, because it's literally a business. It's not really healthcare anymore. It's really a business. That it takes a long time to sit down with a patient and go over these symptoms, because it's never just one symptom. It's a multitude of things. And then to have to educate patients on what's going on with them and the treatment they could do and what they need to do. It takes a long time. So it's not easy just to go into your regular OBGYN these days and get this kind of discussion with your provider, because they've got to see so many patients to, sometimes these days, some providers are having, months before you can get to see them on a regular, just for a regular routine pap smear. And the way the insurance I work for an insurance company, but the way the reimbursements are, it is what it is. I have no qualms about telling how it is. The way that providers have to see patients these days is it's not conducive to actually sitting down with someone and really being compassionate and listening to them and trying to figure it out. And because it's not a one-time thing, it's something that's always ongoing. It's, if you start someone on medication, you have to bring them back to see how it's affecting them.
Yeah.
So it's not just that we're not just being educated, but the system doesn't allow the time that's needed to actually discuss these things on a routine exam.
and I think let's face it, we have to just fess up that we have a healthcare system
Yeah.
that is for sick care. It is a reactionary healthcare
Yeah.
system
Yeah.
that deals with people who are sick and doesn't really look at prevention. Okay. And so, you know, we talked about how menopause can affect cardiovascular health. And so, but when I'm faced with someone who shows up in my office with a blood pressure of 170 over 90, and I have 15 minutes, I'm really scrambling to deal with the issue of their blood pressure and as any physician would, and trying to, keep them out of stroke range blood pressure,
Yeah.
hypertensive emergency.
So it's triage.
And, then we're not really having that conversation about, how, and they could be having these menopausal issues as well, but we don't even get to that conversation because I get locked in trying to keep them from having a stroke.
Yeah.
And guess what? That is why the year of the menopause is so important, right? This is obviously, they're not treating an individual in what is being discussed in in this campaign, but it is a source of information that you can have because your doctor only could spend 15 minutes with you. How about you getting information? How about this amazing conversation and this podcast helping you to be informed about menopause, the effects of it, how to not think you're crazy, as Damali said, how to take action, individual action, have agency, self-agency to learn about these things because they're really important. I personally did not have kind of the quote unquote difficult or I don't even remember the height of my menopausal years. Neither did my mother. I just remember her talking about feeling hot or whatever. But whenever we talked about it, the few times, it wasn't a big deal. I didn't experience it as a big deal. However, the fact that it has so many implications for the rest of my health and I didn't know, that makes me angry.
Yeah.
That makes me angry because I might have been thinking something else. I didn't link it to menopause, but I still experienced it, but I would never have connected because that's not really the thinking. Menopause is hot flashes, crankiness, a dry vagina, and that's it. The rest of it, heart disease, what? I mean, heart health, what? Osteoporosis, what? 46 receptors in the body, what?
Yeah.
400. Yeah.
400, how many?
400 receptors.
Yeah.
Even worse.
Yeah.
400 receptors in the body for this this hormone that is severely reduced during that makes me pay attention.
As a physician, same situation. Mine basically just stopped, and that was it. And then I literally got one more a whole year later, just one day of bleeding, and that was it. So, and that was it for me. I never really experienced anything. But even I, as a physician, never really thought about the rest of the stuff. I never really thought about it. I never thought about bone health. And even though I do exercise and I lift weights and stuff, I mean, I could still be doing more.
Yeah.
I could still be doing more, with my heart health, with my brain fog. And the simplest of things that we should be pushing is things, there was a study that said, a Centrum 50, one a day. I mean, how is that I was not taking that from years ago?
All right. I'm going tomorrow to get my Centrum 50. I hope it's not.
We don't have any stock in Centrum, though.
I hope it's not too late for me.
We don't have any stock in Centrum.
I know, but a Centrum at 50 cents, silver Centrum, one a day, covers, some things. And so how did I not know that? And I know that you again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is very scary.
So I think this is going to be an exciting time for us to continue to meet with you all and members of the team. And I didn't even talk about really who the team was, because and I'll just say, just so that I don't forget. So the Year of Menopause is a project that was conceived by two organizations that I'm a part of. Dr. Campbell is the president of the New Jersey Medical Association, which is the state association of NMA, the National Medical Association. It's the largest and oldest organization representing African American physicians in the United States.
Okay.
The goal of the NMA is to address health disparities and that disproportionately affect Black Americans. So how timely is this collaboration to foster the goal of NJMA and hence NMA? I also need to mention the New Jersey Black Women Physicians Association, for which I'm also involved with, a member of, as we all are. And that was conceived in 2019, a network of Black female physicians dedicated to improving health outcomes in communities of color and in underserved populations. So we have a lot of smart minds and people thinking about this. We understood the need for it, and we're going to bring to you regularly, perhaps monthly or even more than that, what the Year of Menopause is coming up with, addressing different topics and accepting questions. And I think that as you continue to tune in, you'll learn something. I know I'm going to learn something. I'm already learning something. And I think not only will it change your life, but it will change the lives of people that you love who are going through this. So that's my spiel about it. And that's why I'm so excited to bring these to you. So not only are you going to see Dr. Campbell and Dr. Otway again, but you're going to meet other members of the team. And we're going to continue talking about it. And hold on to your hats and bring a pen and take notes. Yeah. Did I miss anything else? So what might we look forward to coming up in the next or in future conversations?
Well, I think we should, because there's so much information, I think we should take different parts of the body and focus on, the next times we focus on different areas. We just gave a pretty much general overview of the problems that we're having or the problems that people are having getting information. So I think we'll be more targeted onto the different areas, the brain, the heart, the vagina, skin, hair, all different things.
Yeah.
So we're more focused.
Okay.
Okay.
And certainly we want to answer
any questions? Yes.
questions that folks out there have. And, I think it was mentioned about how menopause might affect our weight gain and what we call urogyne health, like if we have problems holding our urine, or, maybe we got to know where all the bathrooms are in the mall.
And Damali, it's so funny that you bring that up specifically. How many of us think that incontinence, or what I'll say is like not holding the urine or leaking, is just a normal part of aging, especially for females. We see the commercials and things like that. We don't realize that it's related to perhaps estrogen, or that there are things that can be done for that. We think that this is just normal and we all have to live with this.
Yep.
So I can't wait to get some really good information and not that anecdotal stuff that you hear about and it's like, oh, it's yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
And I guess lastly, I would say, as it is, as we are on the month of February, which is oftentimes, not only the month of love, but, the heart health month, we want to offer a little bit of focus, about cardiovascular effects of menopause. And so, when we think about as women transition, some people like to call it the transition into that time period where we no longer have a period. Those hormones, that estrogen hormone that we produce, affects our what we call lipid profiles. It affects our weight,
Cholesterol, and
our cholesterol. Yeah, it affects that body mass index that we don't like to talk about. And it affects our bone density, all of which influence our health status, and women's risk for heart disease increases at the time of menopause. And so, the timing and the onset of menopause transition can be a risk factor for later life problems, such as cardiovascular disease and Alzheimer's. And it's really interesting to note that when you think about women who may have had a hysterectomy, and there's many reasons why women have had a hysterectomy, fibroids, ovarian cysts, but Black women actually are more likely to have the removal of ovaries at the time of hysterectomy, which means that they are being put into what we call surgical menopause at an earlier age. So they are increasing their risk, their
for all of
cardiovascular
those
risk.
diseases that would have come had they had natural menopause later on.
Okay, and so then
they
there
would have
comes
heart disease earlier, perhaps.
right? So there comes the disparity. There comes the inequity, right? And why are they having their ovaries removed? Are we having this conversation? Are they really understanding the fact that even when you're not having your period, your ovaries still are producing some very low levels of hormones that are protective? And so, if it's not broke, maybe don't try to fix it.
I see. So that is a conversation that should be had when it's time for a surgical removal of someone's uterus. Do we keep the ovaries, or do we take them out as well? Okay. So
And because fibroids is a benign disease, right? There's no indication if the ovaries are normal to really remove the ovaries. But it's, in our literature, it's documented that Black women are more likely to have their ovaries removed at the time of hysterectomy, even when there's benign disease present. So that further increases their risk of cardiovascular disease. And so again, there's the inequity and the disparity.
It's a setup.
It's a setup. It's a setup. Wow.
Okay. Wow. It's a lot to digest. And I told you, hit like and subscribe. I told you, you're going to want to hear this. Hit notifications too. All right. We're going to see you guys again. We're going to meet other members of the team. And at the end of a year or more, we're all going to be experts. We're going to say, I get it. All right. Are you taking your vitamin D? Are you doing your calcium? How's your lipid panel? You go, girl. Okay.
Not the lipid panel.
Not the lipid panel. All right. Well, thank you to our guests. You guys have been wonderful. We will see you again soon. And this has been another episode of Black Boomer Besties from Brooklyn.
Brooklyn.
Thank you.